Hello everyone, I'm Abhishek Srivastav, Partner Solution Architect from Redis. Today I will talk about Redis Enterprise and will show you how to spin up a Redis Enterprise database quickly using AWS Marketplace inside your inside a new VPC. So I will also be creating one sample application and will deploy it on an EC2 machine and connect it to the already created Redis Enterprise database. Next, I would be establishing the connection between this EC2 machine inside one VPC and Redis Enterprise database in another VPC, right? So let's get started. So before that, let's understand what Redis Enterprise is and what it offers in terms of capability and its features which stand out compared to other offerings. So if you can just focus on the bottom portion of the bar here in this slide, it talks about linear scalability. So Redis Enterprise by nature it's fully linear scalable and can easily scale by just adding a new shards and new nodes into your existing cluster, a kind of a scale out and scale up. High availability, it provides high availability with one master and one replica, and it's a pure in-memory fast replication with automatic failure detection and failover. Right? In terms of durability, it is fully durable, and hence it is being used or it can be used as a primary database. It supports AOF, append only file, and snapshot. We can also back up a snapshot of a database on all public cloud, be it Amazon S3, Azure Blob, Google Cloud Storage. And snap that way it provides data durability, right? Which can so that backup for disaster recovery when we need to build a cluster from the scratch. Active, active, what we call a kind of is a very a kind of a data resiliency architecture which distributes data across multiple data centers located in different regions or geographies. So this active topology uses CRDT technology, which is conflict-free replicated data types, for resolution or for just resolving all the conflicts which occur when we write anything inside to the respective Redis enterprise clusters. That way, it offers local latency for read and write and seamless conflict resolution. Then it also supports Redis on Flash, which is a tiered memory, and we can automate the storage tiering between the RAM and SSD flash disks. It enables you to store more data and reduce overall storage costs for up to 70%. Right? So you can keep your warm data on SSDs and hot data on RAM. Next comes multi-tenancy. So it's a very wonderful feature wherein you can actually improve upon your entire total cost of ownership. Yeah. So you can create hundreds of database on a three-node cluster and offer tenant level tunability for HA, persistence, DB size, eviction, etc. Application developer can provision database without worrying about the underlying infrastructure. Last but not the least, the security aspect of it. So it provides enterprise grade security like using role-based access control, LDAP integration, database passwords, and TLS encryption. Just focus on the right side of it. It provides multiple enterprise modules like Redis JSON, search, graph, gears, time series, etc. On top of the already existing primitive data structures like strings, hashes, sets, streams, sorted set, etc. Right? How you can find this Redis Enterprise on marketplace offerings, I will talk about it. So there are two modes. One, once you open the AWS console, you can search Redis Enterprise, and there would be two offerings: pay as you go, and other one is annual commits. You can actually try your hands. I mean, you can just, if you want to have a kind of how things work, just click on the pay as you go and spin up your Redis Enterprise cluster. How things work here. So when you deploy a typical Redis Enterprise cluster, that cluster would be deployed inside a new VPC in your AWS account, right? And once this Redis Enterprise cluster has been created, to connect to this Redis Enterprise cluster, what you need to do is that you need to create a peering connection between your already existing VPC and there might be one application, there might be your application which is actually residing in your VPC. You just need to create a VPC peering connection between these two so that your application would be capable of connecting to this Redis Enterprise. So let's see how actually entire thing works here. So this is the AWS console. Uh, you need to, of course, you need to have your credentials to log in into it. Just type Redis Enterprise and just click on the marketplace offerings. Here you can see Redis Enterprise Cloud Flexible, pay as you go, Redis Enterprise Cloud annual commits. For this demo, let's click on pay as you go. It will ask you continue to subscribe. Let's click on that. Click here. Cool. So as you can see, it there is an app.redislabs.com portal will be opened. You need to create a new subscription because in order to spin up a new Redis Enterprise cluster, as a first thing, you need to create a subscription for that, right? So here I would use flex. So there are three plans: fixed plan, which is a kind of a developers and QA environments, not for the production workload. Then we have flexible plan. This is actually provides a lots of capability, how you can use, how you want to spin up your Redis Enterprise cluster. Then we have annual. So this is basically for annual commits and long-term usage. So let's click on flexible plan, select AWS and select Asia Pacific as a Mumbai region. Let's name our subscription something around this. Now it will ask you whether you want to enable as a multi availability zone. I mean, in such a way that whether you want to leverage this feature or not. It is basically for available for automatic failover and fault tolerance. You need to select the cloud account, which cloud account of AWS it needs to be associated with. Then a CIDR, you have to provide the CIDR range. Let's say, for example, I select this as a CIDR range and make sure when you make the VPC peering connection between your application VPC and your Redis Enterprise VPC, make sure there should not be any conflict between the CIDR between these two VPCs, right? Next, you would be asked to provide the preference for your availability zone, which I have indicated as no preference. Let's continue. Now in this screen, you would be asked to create the database. Let's create one. Let's name our database as dev. So things will get interesting over here. Yeah. So it will ask you what would be the number of throughputs, what exactly is the throughput which you are looking at in terms of operations per second. Then it will also ask you the memory, the total data set size which you are looking at for your target workload. Third, it will also ask you whether you are actually looking for high availability HA for your entire workload, or if your use case is just kind of a development or QA environment, it is better to avoid the cost. To avoid the cost, it would be better to just disable it, right? So for this demo, I would be disabling the HA here. Just click on the advanced option. It will ask you once again few other questions like whether you want to enable your Redis Enterprise as a OSS cluster or enterprise cluster. As a default, it uses enterprise cluster, which uses proxy in the backend. And but for my demo, I would keep it as default. Type as Redis. I don't want to actually configure the data persistence, but it is very much recommended. And your if it is required as per the business rules or business use cases, if you require data persistence, you can very well do that. But for me, I'm not going to do it. Then for this module, there are multiple, as I said initially, there are multiple enterprise grade modules which are available in Redis Enterprise like Search, JSON, Bloom, Time Series, and all those things. So for my demo, I would select Redis Search and Redis JSON. And I mean, what exactly is the quantity number of databases you want to spin up? For this demo, I'm going with one. Let's save it. Click on the continue button. Here you can see the estimated price per hour of your entire database cluster which it runs. So based on your workload type, based on your throughput, data set, and HA requirement, this estimated price will change. For me, it is $0.125 per hour, right? So it will once again ask your confirmation here. It will provide what kind of a shard it has actually selected. As you can see, it is high throughput shard for my use case. This is the total cost per hour. Quantity, what exactly is the type of EC2 machine it is it will use behind the scenes, right? As you can see, C5X large, one quantity, M5 large, two. EBS volume, it is using 58 GBs. Billing information and whatever the database configuration you have selected, it will ask. Now, once you hit the create subscription, it will send the request to the backend and it will create the Redis Enterprise cluster after some time. For this, for the sake of this demo, I have already created a subscription. Uh, as you can see here, it has already been started and it is working fine. If you just click on it, you can see public endpoint and private endpoint. To connect to this Redis Enterprise cluster, it is recommended for production grade application to use the private endpoint because that way it will be your traffic won't be routed to the internet, right? And all the Redis version it provides, what are different modules like Redis Search, Redis JSON, memory limit, memory used right now, right? And all those things it provides. So we have created our database